Hi. When I was growing up in South Central Pennsylvania, oh, so many years ago, it was a lot like the reminiscent Facebook posts you'll see today online. We drank from the hose, we left in the morning, returned when the streetlights came on or when mom called for dinner. We rode our bikes everywhere, and we valued our personal relationships and who we were going to hang out with today. We had high spiritual and moral values, and probably the thing we feared most was Dad's belt. As we approached graduation, looking back over the 10 years prior to that, with riots, assassinations, civil unrest, we were kind of amazed to see that 10 years had gone by so quickly, and we were looking towards the future. At some point, we decided it was time to buy a house. The interesting thing is, it wasn't an investment. It wasn't something you bought with the hope of a return. It was rather more about finding the perfect house for the family, to make memories. It was a home. It wasn't necessarily going to be perfect, but we knew that, and we weren't looking for perfection. Yet we were. We were looking for the perfect starter home and ready for our personal touches. Buying a house wasn't as much about having a possession as it was creating a part of life. Now things are a bit different. And as you move forward with the consideration of downsizing, possibly even into a 55 and over community, you're going to be faced with a buying public that has a very different viewpoint on what should be a house, what should I pay for a house, what should the condition of that house be. And in many cases, these demands and expectations they have are going to be unsettling. What I want to do here is give you some tips and strategies on how to make your family home into something that will be appreciated by the masses and the buyers that are out there, so that you feel like you are not just selling a house, but granting forward what you've created. And realize that some of these buyers are looking at a 5 to 7 to 10 year venture rather than buying a home for the long haul. First thing is to realize that presentation matters. It matters a lot. Gone are the days of a newly married couple looking for a fixer-upper that they can invest some sweat equity into and create on over the time while they begin to live there. Sweat equity is often a term that many buyers aren't familiar with, and the thought of having to update a kitchen or do much more than painting is a bit beyond them. So you want to make sure that your property looks good online, attracts as many buyers as possible to come see it, and that it looks good from the point they drive up to the time they leave and see it in the rearview mirror. So here are some basic tips. You want to update the landscaping, trim the shrubs, cut the lawn and keep it maintained, edge the beds, plant some flowers, make it look colorful, but don't overdo it. You want the house to stand out and be framed by the landscaping rather than the landscaping being the center of attention. Also, you want to try to make the house look like, at least from the landscaping standpoint, that it doesn't need a lot of maintenance. A lot of folks that are out there buying houses these days, dual incomes, they have a lot on their plates. They don't want to be bothered with a high maintenance lawn or property. So keep that in mind. And if you can tone yours down a bit, if it needs it, that's what you should do. You might consider power washing the exterior. If you've been there a while and the house needs a little bit of love, power washing for a few $100 by a professional can make all the difference, especially when it comes time for the prospective buyers to come in and see you from the street. If the trim needs painting, take care of that. If the walkways are a little rough, then that would be something to attend to too. And all these things I would suggest you have done professionally, because that's where you're going to get the best result. For goodness sake, if you have to improve your house, if it's something that you are in fact able to do professionally at a high level, feel free to go ahead and do it. But if it's not, a Harry homeowner type renovation or paint job or floor refinishing stands out like a sore thumb, and it can cost you thousands of dollars. It can cost you way more than it might have cost to have some professional come in and do it right the first time. I remember some years ago I had some folks, and I pointed out while we were showing the house that the floors appeared to have been done by someone who didn't know what they were doing. They were ripply, there were gaps in the finish and that sort of thing. And I pointed all this out. We decided they wanted the house anyway. We put it under contract and we're doing our inspection. And guess what? The home inspector pointed this out and then some. And it turned out that they weren't going to buy the house, and they ended the contract and moved on. So there are things to consider that you want to do up front to have them done professionally, so that they actually have the greatest amount of impact positively on the buyers that may come to your house. And with regards to that, an agent who's worth his salt or her salt will actually point these things out, and it can cost you a buyer if the thing that they're discussing, such as a paint job or a hardwood floor refinishing, doesn't look at a professional standard, the agent may just tell them that it's not a good buy because of that. And they may walk, even though it might not be more than a couple of grand to take care of it. Now, I can't stress this enough. Stage your home. Your furnishings aren't probably what the vast majority of people are going to like, especially when it comes to online photos. Stage your home. This used to be sort of an optional thing that people who had a little extra cash laying around would do, but it's really become almost as mandatory as turning the keys over at settlement. It's actually an investment that can give a return thousands more than what you spend on it. And this is particularly true with regards to the photos you're going to have done and the presentation online. Another thing I can't stress enough, clean it. Clean it like it's never been cleaned before. You live there, it is clean. There's nothing wrong with your housekeeping skills. But when it comes to putting a house on the market, it should be spotless. Clean the corners, scrub the fridge, clean the windows, make it clean like it's never been cleaned before and cleaned to a white glove standard. Make your home feel fresh and inviting. Make it feel like it's been cared for. That by itself can result in $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in sale price. Declutter and thin out. You've been there a while. Your closets are bulging. There's stuff all over the place. The garage, you don't even park in the garage anymore because you can't get your car in it. So you want to thin out. There's something in your house that you haven't looked at in 10 years. You might consider whether or not it's something you need to pass on to the kids or get rid of altogether. But you don't want your house to look like it can't fit people and stuff in it. Full closets make it look like there's no place for storage. And you don't want that aspect butting up against a buyer who loves your home otherwise. And if it looks cluttered or messy online, rest assured they're not even going to schedule a time to come see it. And this is very important. Make it easily shown. Most agents these days use online scheduling services, so setting up an appointment for a house is usually a simple matter. But nothing is more frustrating to someone who's trying to schedule a few tours in the afternoon between the baby's feeding schedule than having one not fit the schedule. Instead of putting it to another time, the likelihood is they're going to skip it altogether. And if they don't get out again, or they've already found a house that they like in the meantime, they're not going to come back. So make your scheduling easy. Do as long a day as you possibly can. Let as many people in the door, particularly in the first weekend and particularly the first week to 10 days, so that as many people as you can get through the door as possible. It's a numbers game. The more people you get through in the shortest amount of time, the better your chances are for a good offer with a good price and shorter days on market. And yes, of course, pricing matters. It's extremely important. Some of the strategies that have been used over the years just aren't workable, like, oh, well, the carpet looks bad, so I'll give them a $10,000 credit. Or let's leave the price a little high so that there's room to negotiate. Both of these will end up shooting you in the foot because they just don't work. And perhaps you've spent $50,000 in improvements over the last few years. Fact of the matter is you don't always get back what you've put in unless it's been strategically done to attract buyers based on current trends. Your taste may not be what the average buyer may like. So you've spent $20,000, $30,000 in that wonderful kitchen. Don't expect to necessarily get that money back because it may not work that way. And maybe you bought a house that was brand new recently and now you have to sell sooner than you thought. When you buy new, you're always buying at the top of the market. There's no way around that. That's just the way it works. And just like a car rolling off the lot, you buy a new house and you lose value in the early days of the timing. So you're likely going to have to accept a little less than you hoped for when you've bought a new house in recent times. What you have to realize is that the ultimate sale price of a house is dependent solely on the market. What people are willing to pay is what you're going to get. So if you have a price like $500,000, but nobody thinks it's worth more than $480,000, A, you're going to have very low traffic through the place. B, you're hardly going to get any offers. C, you're going to end up selling the house for less than what you would have gotten if you'd have priced it properly in the first place. And you're going to be anxious and worried, and that's not what you want to have going on while you're trying to sell your house. And don't rely on Zillow. Zillow is an estimate. Zillow is an index. Use it for what it is and compare it to Redfin, compare it to any other automated valuation systems out there, but don't use it as the truth as to what your house is worth. Also, don't go by what John's house down the street went for. It is a different house. It's on a different plot, and it is not going to sell for the same thing as yours, even though it may be the same layout. Every house is different. Every circumstance is different, and the timing is different. If it is sold 6 months ago, you're in a different market. So you got to keep that in mind. So pricing matters based on lots of different factors. And for goodness sake, don't price your house with the idea of giving them a credit or giving room to negotiate. You're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. You're just going to end up with less than you would have if you'd have priced it properly in the first place. The current market is allowing for probably 30 to 60 days on market, as opposed to a few years ago where you listed it on Thursday and had a contract by Tuesday and the cash buyer was settling 2 weeks later. That's not happening so much right now. So you have to realize that there is going to be a time involved. And the longer it sits with buyers with the expectation that time is a bad thing, they're going to start worrying about the property, even if it is sitting on the market during an acceptable period of time. So be patient and don't get upset. The data we're going to use to predict what's going to happen with your house in terms of price and days on market is all based on data from the past. And data from the past does not equal data for now or data in the future. So we're extrapolating. While there's a lot of science behind what we do, there's a certain amount of professional judgment as well. And we have to be fluid and be able to work with the market to get you what you need at the end of the day. And buyers will do things and say things just to get under your skin. They will criticize your house and things, and why did you do this way? And what was your intention on what you did with the house? Just ignore it. Your agent, if he's smart, won't pass that along. But if you do get to hear it, don't take it personally. They're just trying to beat you at your game. Keep your composure, let your agent be the buffer, and remember one thing. One of the strongest negotiating tactics is the word no. There are 1,000 different things that come to play in a real estate transaction. There are lots of moving parts and lots of things to keep in mind. The process can be very complex, and it has its share of hidden dangers, complexities, and pitfalls. If you're getting ready to downsize and move on from the family home, you can do it. You can do it seamlessly, you can do it stress-free, and you can make it to your benefit and advantage. But do the right things and it'll go right. Do the wrong things and you'll have stress, you'll have upset. We don't want that to happen. If you plan it right and keep your cool, you can come away a winner. The risk doesn't have to be great. And if you play it right, the benefit can be extremely high for you and your family. Good luck with downsizing.